Hi, everybody. So I'm Heather. I'm the program manager at Learning Genie. Thanks so much for everybody for signing in. I have some news. It sounds like Alicia is actually in the hospital. So for anybody who everybody's been asking about whether we're going to get started, I do have her slides and I can do a presentation on her content. What I think we're going to end up doing is actually depending on what I hear back from her, when she returns. I don't know about how serious it is, so I'm really hoping that it will obviously be something that she can recover from quickly. I will maintain in contact to figure out what's going on with that. In the meantime, I will present her content because I know that we have over 100 people logged in, which is very exciting, and I know that you're all looking forward to the content, so I will present on her content. But if possible, I will ask her if she can, if she will be able to do another encore presentation from herself, because I do think that she is such an amazing educator, and I really want to make sure that her voice is heard and her thoughts and her experiences are shared. So I will present on this, but again, this is her content, so I'm not going to have as much detail as what she would present on, but I do have some great stuff coming from her. So I know that we have some chats that are coming in. I will answer some questions toward the end of the webinar, so hang tight, and I'll get back to all of you at the end. So thank you again so much for attending our webinar. I think that it's great that you're interested in expanding your education at this time. That's it's such a crazy time for all of us, you know, as we're working from home. As you can see, I'm at home at my apartment as well. We're all, you know, in different situations. Hopefully everybody here is all healthy, but you know, it's great that you're coming together and still trying to advance your best practice. So I think that it's awesome that everybody's doing their best to continue the great work that they're doing even during this crazy time. So I hope you're all healthy. I hope you're all well, and I look forward to building this relationship with you guys as we continue this series. So again, this is supposed to be Alicia. For anybody who's just joining, this is supposed to be Alicia Cherry's webinar, but I'm actually the Learning Genie program manager who's going to be leading her content because again, she is in the hospital right now, so hopefully she'll be recovering soon. So this will be recorded. I will send it out to people, but again, I hope to do an encore presentation when she gets out. So we'll start with an introduction. I will give you a little bit of background on her, and then I will present some of her content. So let's start with what is the Educator Spotlight program. So this program is meant to highlight our really great educators in our network. We know that this program has been really beneficial in being able to bring out the voices of our amazing educators. We've had administrators, teachers. Our next webinar that's coming up is actually going to be a teacher presenting. We've had parents present, and it's been amazing to see everybody's different experiences that they're able to share, because this program is meant to bring together all of the amazing educators that we work with across the country, because as we know that we kind of end up in our own silos here within our fields. A lot of times we kind of get focused on our particular children, our particular classes, our particular agencies, and being able to hear what's going on in other agencies and some of the other challenges that they may be facing is really valuable, because it allows us to kind of come at things from different angles. And so it's been great to elevate the voices of the people who work with our program throughout the country, and also just allow them to share their best practices and also build relationships with each other. So Alicia Cherry, we'll talk about her because she's amazing. She is super passionate educator. She's been a teacher. She has been a family advocate, a center director. And even though she's so young, she has really climbed up in her field and has been so influential. And it was so funny when I was listening to I was asking her to write about herself. She was so modest in a lot of her little autobiography, but she is so experienced. She was talking about how she's become, it sounds like a personal trainer in some ways. She's just so active and so passionate. And so I'm really hoping that she gets better soon. At her agency let me just go back here, at her agency in Central Arkansas, I just want to give a little bit of background. She's working with families that are coming and going so frequently in her agency that she is, has a challenge of building relationships with these children and families just because they're in and out so quickly. But she has been able to use our program to communicate with families. And even though they're there for such a short amount of time, she is really able to still make a big difference with these children, even though they're not there for very long. So with social emotional learning, and I'm a former educator, so I am coming from some background. I do apologize if this is not my content, but I do have somewhat of a background in teaching, so I can speak to some of this even though I didn't write this. So with social emotional learning, obviously it's so important to nurture the child's when you're thinking about the hierarchy of needs, for example, you want to make sure that these children are nourished with their very basic needs, social emotionally, before they're able to advance academically. So it's so important to understand and manage these children's emotions, to help them manage their own emotions, to help them set and achieve goals, feel empathy for each other, and allow them to establish and maintain relationships and make responsible decisions. It's so important because, as you know, people who grow up without these social skills, no matter how intelligent they are academically, if they aren't building up these social emotional skills, they're not going to be able to not only advance their own careers, but be able to make a difference in society. So it's so important that at this age, at the critical age of early childhood, that we're building up those crucial skills that are going to follow them throughout their whole life. So I would love to hear about the roles of the people who are attending today. So let me go ahead and launch this poll. I'd love to see who's attending. So go ahead and take the next 10 seconds or so to answer my poll. Okay, we're trying to find out who is attending. We have a lot of teachers, which is great. We have some administrators coming in. Perfect. A lot of teachers, some family service staff as well. I'll end the polling here in about 10 seconds. All right, thank you so much for everybody who has answered. I'll go ahead and share these results with everybody. About 80 people responded out of our 100. So just so you guys can see, most everybody who's attending here is a teacher or classroom staff. We have some administrators as well and family service staff. So welcome everybody. I hope that you're you're healthy and that you're home and that you're enjoying your day so far. So thank you so much to everybody who attended. So, all right. So social emotional learning in the 21st century. We want to talk about how we define this together, why this is important. We've touched on that a little bit, understanding and growth, as well as who benefits from the knowledge that that we share today. We want to make sure that every role who's present today, they all have their own piece to share in terms of helping children develop social and emotional skills. So we want to make sure that everybody understands their role and everybody knows how they contribute in building these skills for these children. So as we talked about this, we talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, how before you can advance all the way up to self-actualization, you need to start first with your physiological needs. Children need to be safe. They need to have their basic needs met. They need to be able to feel safe. They need to be able to know that they're going to be able to thrive physically. So that's obviously the most important basis, the most important foundation before we can advance to any of those other skills. Knowing that they're safe in the classroom is obviously the most important. Beyond that, we need to make sure that that they feel loved, that they feel that they belong in the classroom. like they develop their own self-esteem. That's our job as teachers, as our job as educators, making sure that they feel recognition, that they feel freedom. And beyond that, you know, helping them understand and label their own emotions and be able to get to that point of self-actualization, becoming the most that they can be. So children are going to move throughout these hierarchy of needs. They're going to start with those basics, and you can't, again, advance until you have those basic needs met. So again, when we talk about social emotional skills, we're talking about some of these foundations of our pyramid. So those need to be met before you can move on. So I want to hear about your background here with your level of support that you've received in social emotional learning. So I'm going to have another poll that I'm going to share with you guys. So I'd like you to answer this question, how much support you've received in terms of social emotional learning. This is going to help guide the rest of the presentation. We want to hear how many people have been really supported very well, how many people have had just a little bit of training, and how many have not really received much training in this area. Okay. We have about half of the people have responded so far. I'll leave it up for about 10 more seconds. Good, we have about 70 people who've responded. I'll share these results in just a minute here. And I know I see chats coming in. Again, I will answer questions at the end just to make sure that we can get through the flow here. Okay. I'll end the polling. 80 people responded. Among those people who responded, most people are saying that they have received a lot of great support with social emotional learning, which is awesome. Some agencies have received a little bit of training and support, and some have not been provided that much support. But luckily, a lot of you have said that you've received a lot of great training, so that's great. I'm going to stop sharing those. So Alicia was talking about how initially when she started teaching, she started with a foundation of not knowing that much about child development. She was focusing more on the paperwork and the goals of the district more so than the children. She talked about how that can be very distracting when you are faced with so many goals in terms of observing the children, assessing the children, filling out all of that paperwork and completing all of those assessments. It can be so difficult. And it can distract you from the very basic needs that the teachers should be providing, which is providing that safe relationship and helping guide those children's social emotional needs. So also, lack of funds, that can be really challenging. When you don't have a lot of funds for professional development, it can be hard to advance the quality of your center when you are strapped for cash and you can't provide a lot of the training that you need to do. So it's really through education and through opportunities like this, with webinars like today, that allows you to advance your growth as an educator and be able to provide the services and the education that you need to for these children. So Alicia talked about what has been working for her. She said visuals. Visuals are so important in the classroom for providing those, providing cues for the students. And that can be anything from a visual schedule to visual cues for ways to say hello and goodbye. So when you're saying hello to the teacher, when you're saying good morning, if you put up pictures for options of ways to greet another adult or another person, allowing the child to have choice. Children obviously are going to flourish when they have those choices. They need structure and then choices within those structures in order to really develop their social emotional skills. Also, visuals for calm down strategies. Again, this provides choice, visual cues to the various choices that they have within the structure of the classroom. So giving the children the tools to be able to deal with their emotions, allowing the child to be able to work through and label their emotions and be able to come up with their own strategies and experiment with the type of strategies that work for them. Adopting very social emotional curriculum. I know that Alicia is a big fan of conscious discipline, and I know that many of you probably have heard of it or have experienced it in your classrooms. And I know that she's a very, very big proponent of conscious discipline. So if you guys haven't checked that out yet, I do recommend that you take a look at it, because it is a research-based social emotional curriculum that can be very supportive of your children. Developing a quiet place. Hopefully all of you, we know that our classrooms can be so chaotic at times, hopefully not too chaotic, but chaotic to the point where it can be difficult for a child to be able to center themselves. So adopting a little place in the classroom that can be a space for that child to kind of ground themselves and be able to sit in their emotions and be able to not be overly stimulated. So having that quiet place is so important. She also wanted to emphasize that throwing out the idea that it has to be done a certain way, whether you have a curriculum or not, even if you have this particular structure in your classroom, knowing that you can throw out these expectations that every child will work the same way. Every child obviously is not going to respond the same way to all of your strategies. So that's why we have choice. That's why we have options for children. That's why we have options for different ways that teachers can deal with things, deal with various issues that come up with their students, is because you need to be able to adopt to the personalities, to the situations that you have in your classroom. So knowing that what may work one day with one child may not work another day with another child. And what works one day with one child may not work for the same child the next day. So being able to adopt and being able to not get discouraged by seeing that a certain strategy didn't work. Knowing that you obviously as a teacher need to be creative and you need to adjust to the children that you're working with that day. And obviously putting the needs of your children first. That is obviously the most important thing. While we can get so caught up in our own goals and our own struggles, thinking about providing those basic needs and making that child feel safe emotionally to express themselves in your classroom is so important. So always setting that mindset of children first. So connecting, I think it's so great that Alicia, again, shared a lot of these ideas that this comes from conscious discipline, being able to share I love you rituals. So I will play this video. I'm gonna temporarily stop sharing my screen because I need to share it in a certain way. So let me go ahead and share it so the audio will share. And when this video loads, you should be able to hear the audio as well that goes along with it.
Now, what we're going to do is Georgie Porgy.
I'm going to make this full screen for you.
I'm going to say those words after me. Listen to them again. Georgie Porgy Pudding and Pie. Say that. Georgie
Porgy Pudding and Pie
gave her friend a big high five. Say that. Gave her friend a big high five. You did it. Now, you've got to do this when we say it. Let's look over here. I saw you guys doing it. I saw you doing it. Then you're going to go like this. You did it. There you go, guys. Then you're going to go, with her friend she loved to play. With her friend she loved to play. And all right, and then you're going to say, a gift of a handshake she gave each day. What are we doing? We're looking at each other. Can you feel it like we care about each other? Can you tell that me and Miss Williams like each other? Could you tell? You got it. All right, now we're going to do the whole thing. How many of you know the words now? Georgie Porgy Pudding and Pie gave her friend a big high five. With her friend she loved to play. A gift of a handshake she gave each day.
A wonderful woman lived in a ship. She had so many children, she knew exactly what to do. She held them, she rocked them, and tucked them in bed. I love you is what she said.
As part of your language arts program, you can have older students make up their own I love you rituals and teach them to the younger children. Watch two students teach their versions of Twinkle Twinkle and Humpty Dumpty.
What grade are you in?
Third.
Third grade. Cameron, what grade are you in?
Camp. kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Now, did you teach him something?
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you teach him?
I taught him how to do this rhyming.
What rhyme is it?
It's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
Now, did you do something to it?
Yes, I changed it around
How come you changed it around?
so it would be more helpful.
More helpful? I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see. All right, Cameron, you and Ashley, let's see what it looks like.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you like. I like lots of love from you, and I like respect too. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty almost had a great fall. All of his friends, and all of their friends too, came by and said, "It's okay, we'll hold you."
All right. So I love those examples of some great rituals that you can develop in your classroom, because that's another way that you build your classroom culture. I know that when I was teaching, when I had my own classroom, it was one of the most important things for me as an educator to have a classroom culture that supported all children's social emotional well-being. So developing that strong culture, developing that sense of identity can a lot of times be built through rituals, through daily routines that you have with the children. So having kind of, it's almost like a little language that you have that they know is special to their classroom. It allows you to connect with your children, and it also allows them to connect with each other and make them feel safer. So developing those special rituals, things that you do every single day, really does support their social emotional development. Next, so this, I kind of touched on this a little bit about our tools that we can use in our classrooms that are visuals that help the children transition. I had a child named Alyssa when I first started teaching. That was one of my first few years back in 2012, and she was brilliant. I'm telling you, she was brilliant academically. She came in, when I taught transitional kindergarten, she came in fluently reading with expression. I was blown away. But while she came in so brilliant academically, she needed the most nurturing with her social emotional development because she could not handle transitions. So I, as a new teacher, had to dive into all of these different strategies to try and figure out what would work for her. Because even though I could put her in front of the class for a few minutes and just say, "Alyssa, will you read this book?" while I talked to a parent for a second, and she would be able to command that classroom and read the book to everybody. But when it was the end of center time and we needed to start cleaning up, she had a full-on meltdown. Same thing with fire drills. Full-on meltdown. So I needed to come up with ways to signal transitions in the classroom, and I know that many of you are probably doing this, but developing a visual schedule and moving the children through the schedule visually can be very helpful, especially if they are icons and visuals that they're familiar with and that you do every single day. Having that routine, again, built in that predictable, structured routine, again, will make them feel safe and make them feel comfortable in the classroom. And being able to move through it and consistently refer to this in your classroom. So you're consistently pointing to the place that you are at in your schedule, so that they know what came first, what they're working on now, and what they're going to go to later. So moving through that schedule visually. Some children get overwhelmed by too many options here. So depending on your class and your children, you may just need to adopt a much simpler schedule, which is just first, we're in art centers. Then we go to story time, and having, again, pictures that are familiar, that they recognize right away, they don't have to figure out every time, can develop a system of visual cues that allows you to that allows the children to feel safe again in knowing what they're doing now and what they're going to be doing, and that allows them to develop these self-regulating behaviors so that they can anticipate what's coming next. And also you can facilitate that in your conversations with them as well. Facilitate, talk out loud about the transitions that are coming up and guide them through those transitions. That really supports them in being able to self-regulate. This is another type of visual schedule. If you have all of these things that you need to do, every time you finish it, move it on to the next, move it onto the finished side. So then they know what they've finished and what they still need to do. I love these visuals. These are some really cool examples. I believe that they're at Alicia's center. I think these are her real ones from her real centers, where you can see safe spaces that are built. And again, you're facilitating those children's basic needs for comfort, for safety, and it again allows them to have that grounding feeling. Now, I don't know about you guys, I do yoga. It's something that I really think helps me, and I think if you do that in your classroom as well, very simple yoga techniques, it helps the children to what we call is to feel grounded, to feel present. And when you feel grounded and present, and you don't kind of feel this disconnected sensation with the people that are around you, it can really help you be more in tune with your feelings. It can help you label your feelings, and it can help you move past any of those difficult feelings that you may be feeling. So helping the children to find a place where they can just be alone with themselves and allow them to work through those feelings. Now, some of that can be done with the children on their own, and sometimes they need someone to sit with them and help them label their feelings. So it depends on the age of the child, developmental level of the child, and also it depends on the child's personality and their background as well. So some children may require an adult to sit there and say, it looks to me that you're feeling sad that we had to leave center time right now. And always acknowledging to a child that they are allowed to feel all of the feelings that they are experiencing. We never want to change how a child is feeling. We want them to be able to acknowledge it, to feel those feelings, to be able to control their behaviors, and know what they have control of and what they don't. But we never want to tell a child that they're not allowed to feel something. If a child took one of their toys, they can feel angry. If they have to transition from one activity to another and they're angry, maybe that's not what other children are feeling, but that doesn't mean what that child is feeling is wrong. So always helping them to acknowledge that this fiery feeling that they're feeling is anger. And once you can label that feeling, once you can say, yeah, I'm mad about that. Okay, you can accept that feeling, and now that you've accepted it, you can get your anger out, you can get your sadness out, and then you can move on. It's really when the children are caught in this place of not knowing what to do with their emotions and feeling that they have to suppress their emotions, that's when things start to get unhealthy for the children, and that's when their behaviors start to move to a place that's not acceptable for the structure of your classroom. So really, it's so important to provide that safe space, provide that structure for them, provide that safety to be able to feel their feelings so they can move on from them. And I love these examples of safe spaces because they don't have to look all the same. They might look different depending on the classes that you're in, and I think that's so great. And some of these, again, have tools and visuals put on the walls as well. So I think that's great. Some of them have most all of them have soft things for them to touch, and I think that's really helpful. These are some other examples of calm down kits. So she has lots of ideas for baskets and kits that you can build for children to be able to take these different tools, find the tools that work for them, because they're going to be exploring too. They're going to figure out what works for them, and be able to move through their emotions. Again, calm down, move on. So we want to provide those tools and a way to facilitate that for them. Now, Alicia wanted to touch again on Learning Genie as well, so I'll kind of talk a little bit about how she's been using that. She has started our in-kind feature, and I don't know if many of you are using that feature yet. but it is a relatively new feature. We've had it available since last summer. And what it does is it allows the parents to be able to submit activities that they're working on at home. So then the teachers can see what they're working on, and then they can approve them. If you're in a Head Start program, you would use these activities to be able to generate in-kind funds for your agency. But even if you're not a Head Start that receives in-kind funding, you can still track these activities that the parents are doing at home and be able to review the types of activities and see what they're spending their time on. And it's really, really effective if they're connected to those developmental domains. And I know many of us use the DRDP as their assessment tool. So when you're connecting the parents' at-home activities directly to the developmental domains of the DRDP, that really helps you see how the children are being supported at home. And it also allows you to be able to coach the families on what they should be spending more time on. So for example, you can see, this is Alicia's screenshot of her in-kind homepage. So here you can see among their at-home activities, families are spending a lot of time on the health and nutrition activities. Now, agencies are able to import a framework of various activities. Teachers can make suggestions for types of activities that they want parents to be working on at home. The parents can then select activities that they've worked on. They can put in the date and the time. They can put in any comments for the amount of time that they spent on these activities. And they're able to submit that to the teacher with a signature. You can actually sign on the app, which is very cool. And then the teachers are then able to approve those or just review them, you know, if you're not using them for funds. And that allows you to, again, connect to the parents, coach the families on the types of activities they should be doing at home. So you might have a framework of various activities that you assign to the families. And that might be anything from talk to your child about street safety, or it might be something like go on a letter hunt throughout your house. How many letter A's can you find? Parents can select those activities, they submit those with a signature, and the teachers are able to see what the families are working on. And it also, if you're using in-kind, can contribute to the funding of your agency. So you can see Alicia has just started out on this. They've earned $397, at least at the time of the screenshot. You can see that you can collect not only at-home activities, but also volunteers. So if you have families coming into the house or coming into the center and working with the children, they can report that as well. You'll be able to track whether it's mothers or fathers, and as expected, a lot of these are mothers that are contributing, but we hope to identify these trends and hopefully support the fathers as well to submit these activities. So again, very, very helpful to be able to use this tool to connect to the at-home learning. She just kind of broke this down to show you how you can see how it's broken down by developmental domain. So you can see how much time is being spent on each of those, and you can filter all this data down to the classroom level, or to the child level, or to the agency level, center level. You know, whatever you want to be looking at, it's going to be helpful to you to see what's happening in one classroom versus what's happening in another classroom if you're an administrator, for example, and family members as well, as I had mentioned. She also tracks communication. Now, our family engagement dashboard allows you to see how much communication is going on between home and school. As you know, parents are their children's first teacher. So we need to empower the families. We need to communicate with the families. And having the opportunity to use two-way communication, it validates the parents' input on their child's education. So while a lot of programs, they say they use family engagement, what they really mean is one-way communication, where they're saying, this is what we did in class, this is what we did in class, this is what your child did. But in our program, because we have these ways for the families to submit their at-home activities and to be able to communicate in two ways, like back and forth to the teachers, it's so vital that the parents are able to have a voice in this program. So it's kind of tangential to the social emotional topic, but at the same time, it's so important because children are going to be able to feel the safest when they know that they have not only a safe classroom environment, but they have a safe and nurturing home environment. So we want to make sure to build up those relationships with families, to coach the families, bring them in on their children's education. So she uses two-way communication. I think she also wanted to point out the translation here. Translation, obviously that's so important to validate the voices of our dual language families. Families that don't speak English, they need to be able to communicate and still have a voice in their child's education. So Learning Genie does have that two-way translation. So when you send something to families, it'll translate into their language. When they respond back in their language, it translates back into English. So again, you're validating those parents' voices in their child's education by allowing for them to be heard and for them to be able to access the curriculum that you're sending. We do have a reminder tool, so you can coach families with reminders as well. And this is something that we did not initially plan on talking about for this webinar. We didn't plan on talking about COVID-19 or coronavirus. We didn't really plan on talking about our quarantine situation, but it's so important, especially now, to coach the families who are working at home with their children. We have a lot of families that don't know what to do with their children, so we need to be able to give them the tools. So using in-kind, using two-way communication to chat, being able to send those reminders home to remind them to read to their child at night, and it'll actually buzz on their phone or remind them to do that. Families can actually contribute back in the chat if you are using our portfolios feature. Families can send the chat back to the teachers in form of an observation. They can actually say, we worked on our letter hunt today, and we found 6 letter A's in the house, and Alice said that's the same letter that's in my name. They can send that observation back to the teacher, and the teacher can actually save that observation into their portfolios. So connecting between what the parents are doing at home and what the teachers are doing in the classroom through their observations is so important, especially right now when teachers are still trying to complete their assessments in this crazy weird time where they don't have the children at school. So yeah, empowering the families to be able to do those observations and send them back to the teachers through the chat is very, very important. So yeah, you can send those activities home to them and they can respond back. Let's see, she also sends home learning media. Again, a great tool for this quarantine period. If many of you have children at their homes instead of at school, sending home videos. We actually have a COVID-19 health channel that you can send video resources to. We're going to be releasing a music and movement channel and some more at-home learning channels for the families to work on with their children. So being able to give them tools through learning media is super helpful. So other things to think about. Trauma. Obviously, not all children start out from the same level on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Not all children come with that safe foundation of knowing that they have a roof over their head and food on their table. So acknowledging the different backgrounds that children come in with, that some children may have a much lower level of trust for their teachers because maybe they did not have great experiences with adults in their lives. So acknowledging that some children are going to be coming in with many more barriers to cross before they can come and be in a safe place with you. So it's so important to acknowledge that and to find the tools to support those children. So hopefully you'll be able to connect with your social workers who are able to support those children who come in with difficult situations. Knowing that not all parents come in with the same level of understanding of how to support their child. So you're going to have to coach the families on how to support their children, as we know. Knowing that you may come in with a different, the teachers at the school may also have different levels of understanding in their background. Also, how to make connections. Let me go ahead and open this up. Oops. So some links that Alicia sent here. I'm going to send out a PDF version of this presentation, as well as a video recording here, so you'll be able to play it again. You'll be able to pull up your PDF and click on all of these resources yourself. This is the book that she had referred to, so she wanted you to know where you can find that. It's only $12. That's pretty cool. And then let me go ahead and present this. Seems like my Wi-Fi is a little slow. Thinking about it, are we willing to learn? And it doesn't matter what stage in your career you're coming from. Some people are more open to learning than others. So we need to be aware of that and acknowledge that in ourselves, so that you know whether or not you are able to take that next step. Acknowledge in yourself any barriers you might be putting up, any resistance you may be having to changing what you're doing. And if you are putting those barriers up, are those necessary barriers that you need to have? Or are these barriers that you can work on taking down so that you can better support the children that you work with? And that's not an answer that I have. That's an answer that only you can answer for yourself. Reflecting with yourself, with mentors and coaches. I'm going to go ahead and open up this link. So this is a tool that she uses for reflection. This is great, and it's not, it's something that I used to try when I was an early teacher, and then I kind of gave up on it when I continued to teach. But I think it's so important to reflect what went well. And this might start out as a process that you stick to on paper in the beginning, and maybe it's something you just kind of say to yourself before you go to sleep at night. But thinking about what you did today and what went well, what could have gone better, and what are things you're going to do differently for the next day. And this is something that you don't even have to just use for teaching. This is for any career, as well as even if you are a stay-at-home mom, or even if you are a business person, it doesn't matter. If you're reflecting on what you did well today and what your goals are for the next day, this is a tool that you can use it in any facet of your life in order to make improvements for yourself and become a better person and become a better husband, a better wife, a better daughter. This is just self-improvement practices. But I think it's especially great for teachers because we are there to support children. So it's especially reflective, or especially important for us to be reflective to support the people that we serve. All right. The next thing was just some tools and resources. She talks about Arkansas State University. Again, that's one of her local universities, but they have great resources here, which we will have links to. She believes in powerful interactions through conscious discipline. That is a great tool that I encourage you all to look at. And again, you'll get all of these links when I send out this email at the end. Pinterest, she says that is a place that she found so many tools, and teachers pay teachers, same thing. Teachers are sharing, which I think is so important, and that's one of the greatest things about being in this technological age that we're in right now. Teachers are able to not stay in their own silos. They're able to reach out, even if they're the only teacher that teaches their age group at their agency. You can connect with someone in Arkansas, you can connect with someone in California, you can connect with someone in Washington who is facing your same struggles, who maybe came up with a solution already. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to stay up until midnight creating resources because they're probably in existence already. So knowing that you can just take it upon yourself to find them. And that's something that I needed a lot of help with when I was teaching, because I am just someone that's like, I'll just create it myself. I'll just do it myself. And that's working harder and not smarter. You want to work smarter. You want to spend time on things that you don't, that you actually do need to work on. Don't spend time on things, creating things that you have, that are already in existence out there. Someone's probably solved that problem where they are, and you just need to do the research and find it. Chegg, this was something that Alicia taught me about, because I had not heard about this, but this is a place where you can actually rent books. It's like an online library. So if you found a really great resource, but you don't want to buy that book because it's $200, you might be able to rent it for $20 and receive it in the mail, read up on it, take notes, and then send it back. And you can have all of those resources without spending all the money on a brand new book. And again, this is the the Arkansas Professional Development Registry, which they call it PDR, and I don't know if this exists in other states, but it's a place where you can find a lot of professional development programs, and I think that's a great resource for you. Oops, I clicked on something. Here we go. So, and again, I feel bad, you know, sharing Alicia's resources. I don't ever want to take credit for all this work that she did putting this presentation together. And I hope that this has been useful for you, but I'll summarize what her lessons are that she learned. Social emotional learning. So understanding where children are in their social and emotional development, understanding where they are and moving forward from there. Knowing that all children are not going to come from the same background. So you need to meet them where they are and support them up the hierarchy of needs. Because again, they can't move further until they have that foundation of safety, of security, of food. They need to be able to feel that they are secure in their basic needs before they can move forward. So supporting them on the level that they are on their pyramid and their hierarchy of needs. That's the most important thing. So conscious discipline. Again, she said she could not emphasize this enough. She really believes in this program, so I think you should look into that. Knowing to discuss development with parents and with families. Knowing to discuss best practices as well as to discuss where their children's social emotional development is and be able to give them particular strategies to support that at home. Research. Make sure that while we all have great instincts as teachers, sometimes the research goes against our instincts, so we need to make sure to be aware of those, the new studies that are in place, so that we are making sure to support what actually works for the children. Because we might come at it from a direction that we say, well, this is what works, because this is what I've always done, and this is what makes sense. But sometimes the research shows that you need to try XYZ instead, because this is what statistically works the best for the children, or is what's statistically best for the children. So make sure you do that research so that you are supporting them in the way that studies show actually works for the children. Knowing that not every technique is going to work every time, and knowing that every child and situation is different. So you may not be able to try the same technique every time. Maybe it'll work 20 times, and then the 21st time it won't work. So having a tool belt of strategies that you can apply is so important. She also has some resources here that, again, I will send these out in the PDF to you afterward. And I want to turn to the chat now, and I'm just going to scroll through and see if there's some particular questions that I need to answer. And I don't have a ton of time, so I'm just going to go through and scroll through and see if there's particular questions that need addressing. And I really appreciate you guys for your patience today as I present someone else's material. Again, for anybody who missed it, Alicia is in the hospital right now, and so we're hoping that everything's okay, but I had to present her content for her, and I will, if she gets better enough to be able to present, I will ask her if she wants to do an encore presentation with her own content, because I think that all of you deserve to see it being presented by the person who created it. So yes, someone asked about if we're going to get a certificate. Yes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out a follow-up email, and in that email, it's going to have a link to a survey. Now, when you click on that survey, it's going to ask you if you want a certificate, and it'll ask you to put in your name. So if you want a certificate, make sure you put in your name, because sometimes people just sign up and they fill out the survey, but they don't put in their name, and then I can't give you a certificate without your name. So make sure you put that in. Prayers for her recovery. Yes, I totally agree. We're all sending wonderful vibes to Alicia for her recovery. I totally agree. Let's see here. Let's see, other questions. Yes, so today we had the biggest group of registrations that we have had for any of our past webinars. I think some of that has to do with us being at home now and wanting to learn remotely, but we had over 100 people register, and we learned that our webinar is restricted to 100. So I'm going to talk with my superiors and find out if there's a way to expand that for our future webinars, because I don't want anybody to get locked out, but I will send this out to anybody who signed up. let's see here. Yes, visual schedule and feelings would like a copy of those. So I will send out all the resources that I have in this PDF that from Alicia. Show the slide with the calm down ideas and pictures so I can take a picture. Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, so just 1 second with the calm down ideas. So I will show you the calm down corners. So I'll go through these. So if you want to take any screenshots of this, you can. But again, I will send this out. So you will have a copy of it if you attended this webinar. And I'll go to the next one in a second. So if you don't have a picture yet, make sure you take one in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next picture. Same thing. If you need to take a picture, go ahead and take that in the next 10 seconds or so. But again, I will send these out afterwards, so you will have a copy. And I'm going to turn it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next one, the kit ideas. I know that you guys wanted to say this as well. And I'll go ahead and open up the chat again to see what other questions we had coming in. Oh, thank you so much for the people saying I did a good job. That is so nice. Yeah, because this was not expected for me to present for Alicia. So I'm glad that this went well for you guys. I was not prepared for this. So thank you for the nice words from some of you. Let's see here. Someone is asking how long the webinar is. It's an hour. Beautiful video. Yes, I agree. The video was great. Let's see here. How can we input activities into the system? Great question. Do you have any resources that we can provide to families in the areas of social emotional development? So to answer that first question, if you wanted to set up the in-kind program, I would say contact your account manager. And if you don't know who that is, just respond to my email that I will send out to you guys. Respond back to that. And if you would like to do a trial or to do a pilot or to set up your in-kind module in your system so that you can share activities with families, definitely respond back to me and we can set that up for you. Resources to provide to parents, that I might have to get back to you on because again, this was Alicia's system, so I will have to ask her and see if she has a solution for that or has resources to send to families. How can you save the observation? Great question. So when someone is sending out, if a parent is sending a chat, what they're going to have to do is when they're sending a chat, they have to click on the plus sign. There's going to be a little plus sign on the parent app. When they click on that plus sign, they'll be able to scroll to, instead of photo, they scroll to the next side and there's a section for observation. When they send something as an observation, then the teachers will be able to, when they receive that chat on the teacher app, they'll be able to hold their finger on it and they'll be able to save it as a portfolio draft. So that's how that works. Yes, someone asked for the slides. Yes, you will get those. Answer things in Q&A. I will look at that in a second. What is the name of the app? I think you're thinking In Kind. The In Kind, that's part of our family engagement piece. It's part of our Learning Genie app. What's a good website to tell parents to go to for online things to do? So there are lots of resources for those. I do not know one off the top of my head, but I know that a lot of families have been going to. I'm trying to think of some. I'll come up with some and I'll try and send that out in the email afterwards. I will send the email out as soon as this video finishes converting, because after we end this webinar, it converts into an MP4 format, and then I basically create a link and I'll send that out to you guys. So as soon as that finishes converting, I will send it out to you. You will get it today. Let's see here. Resource for potty training. That might be something that you guys need to help this person with. They're looking for resources for potty training. Let's see here. All right, we will have more webinars. Our next webinar is going to be on quick and effective family engagement and building it into your daily routine. And that's going to be April McMullen. And that's in about 2 weeks. I think it's April 6th, I believe. I'll have to look at it, but I will send you all the follow-up webinars that are coming up after this one. And if you are interested in doing your own webinar and becoming your own educator spotlight, please do reach out to me. That's going to be in our survey as well. So you'll be able to answer, to respond back to that. And if you're interested in doing your own webinar, I can see if we can make that happen. I'm glad that the presentation went well. Thank you for your encouragement, you guys. I was not prepared, and I really appreciate that. Use some of these for IEP learners. Yes, absolutely. Okay. All right. I don't see a lot of thank yous, and you're very welcome. Let's see if there's any other questions. I don't see any other questions. Okay. I think, oh wait, let me go in the Q&A. Oh, there were some on there. Okay. The book and the pyramid again, yes, just a second. I'll open that in a second. How long it is, let's see here. Do you need to sign in? Okay, a lot of these I think people have solved on their own. A lot of these questions were already answered. Yes, okay, I answered a lot of these questions already. So the last thing that someone was asking for was they just wanted to see the pyramid again, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I'll go ahead and show that to you one more time, and then I'll close out. So thanks to everybody who attended today. I appreciate your flexibility as we've had to kind of change things up. Not in definitely not in the best circumstances, but I think that Alicia provided such great content for me to talk on that it wasn't too difficult for me to get through, because she provided so many visuals and so much information for me to be able to expand on. So let me go to my last slide. So this is what's going to happen in the follow-up webinar. You can also give me some feedback on how everything went. And this is just my closure. So thanks to everybody for attending. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to spend time with us and to learn. And I appreciate you guys answering each other's questions on here. I think that was really awesome to see you guys supporting each other. So thank you for that. Someone is asking, will you do an extended version of the Learning Genie and parent inclusion in the app as well as the activities? So we are going to have continued webinars, and if there's any extra training you need, please do reach out. We will continue to do these, and I can give you more training if you ever need it. And ABC Mouse, yes, great resource for family activities. Yes, I recommend that. If you want to recommend that to families for activities for them to do, definitely go to ABC Mouse. And you will receive a follow-up email, which is where the survey is going to be. That's going to be where you can request the certificate. That's where you can give us feedback and ask if you want to be an educator spotlight as well. So thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe. Social distancing so that you don't get sick. Protect those around you, and continue to have these online relationships with people so you don't go stir crazy. Stay safe. Bye, everybody.